Welcome to Valley Vibes, the podcast that's all about the sizzling hot real estate market right here in the Valley of the Sun. I'm your co-host, GT Campanile, joined by co-host Kevin Price. Join us today as we delve deep into the captivating world of real estate right here in Phoenix, Arizona. Phoenix is not just a city. It's a dynamic, ever-growing metropolis that's attracting attention from all around the country and beyond. Whether you're a local Phoenician or someone considering a move to this desert oasis, Home Valley Vibes is your ultimate guide to everything you need to know about buying, selling, and investing in this vibrant market. In each episode, we'll explore the unique charm of Phoenix neighborhoods, chat with local real estate experts, and uncover the hidden gems that make this city so special. From the breathtaking desert landscapes to the bustling urban centers, we've got our finger on the pulse of what makes Phoenix's real estate market tick. Whether you're searching for your dream home in the valley, interested in investment opportunities, or just curious about the latest trends in Phoenix's real estate market, you come to the right place. Without further ado, let's turn up the heat and start our exciting journey through the Phoenix real estate market. All right, Kevin. So today what I want to do as a departure from last week is go back over some introductions for us
Yeah.
because we launched into the podcast, our pilot podcast last week, and I think it went pretty well. What do you think?
Yeah. I enjoyed it. I definitely had some fun.
It's always funny when you're in the spotlight. You got to be your game face on. You got to provide that expertise. We do that every day. Right? And
Yeah.
now we're just trying to do it for a very broad audience. So today, what we're going to be covering is these introductions. I guess I can lead us off here to give us some information on myself. My name is GT Campanile. I've been a Phoenician for about 9 years now. I'm your typical California transplant. California is getting expensive, and we decided to look for greener pastures, at least less expensive pastures. And we were looking at a few places in the US, and Phoenix was definitely on our radar. My aunt had moved down here and had purchased a place in Anthem, a retirement community down in Florence. And she said that the home prices are great, the weather is warm, and it's a growing city with a lot of jobs and great schools. So we came down and loved it immediately. And so we've been here ever since. I spent the first half of my time here working at ASU, which I come to realize in Arizona, you're either a Sun Devil or a Wildcat. And I don't meet too many lumberjacks, but they're out there. And I was basically working on a research center, getting it going, and then stumbled into lending. And I've been a loan officer for the past few years here. I've got a little bit of lending experience in my work history and was pretty good at it. And so here I am. And so I'm in the West Valley, which on the map, it's basically the last stop towards LA. I'm in Buckeye, which is a fast growing little town. But if you were to ask anybody, even here in really Phoenix and particularly probably Tucson and maybe Flagstaff, some of the other larger cities, they probably tell you Buckeye is a little cow town, but it has gone from, I think, 7,000 people and like just 20 years ago to, I think we're over 100,000 in Buckeye now.
Yeah.
And it is happening. It's been on several lists for cities, I think, where they list them at like 50 to 100,000 or 50 to 250,000. It's been on several of those lists that are fastest growing cities and most vibrant economies. So we're
Nice.
also the benefactor of being at that on that 303 corridor, which has been employing a ton of people in the distribution and supply chain space. You're connected to that, Kevin, because you're worked in supply chain and distribution. Yeah, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, and yeah, we can get into that.
Yeah, sure. I've been in Arizona since 2007. That's when I finished my time in the military service in the Marine Corps. I grew up in Kansas, and I looked on a map, and I was thinking about which one's going to be the closer drive home. So I was in Kansas City, the middle of the map. I chose North Carolina. For some reason, North Carolina looked closer than California. So I spent 8 years in North Carolina. And then, like I said, I've been here since 2007. And just recently had a change in my careers. And I've been doing real estate for, we're coming up about 2 years at this point. And it's a very interesting time. Like you said, with that 303, this whole side of the valley, Litchfield Park, Waddell, Surprise, and now with the construction on I-10 being completed, Buckeye, everything's just exploded in populations. It's a real exciting time, real interesting time because as you saw last year, things were crazy. Houses were going left and right. And now all of a sudden, we're not really we're not really going that fast anymore. It's exciting. I have fun with it. And yeah, I enjoy it right now.
You subscribe to the Crawford Report, right?
Yes, I sure do. Yeah.
But basically, it's the Crawford Report are some housing economists that are focused strictly on the Phoenix real estate market.
Yep.
And they do a pretty good job of delivering what has been happening in the real estate market and then where things may be going. They
Sure.
do a lot of trend analysis and they dive deep into the numbers and they deliver a presentation to realtors, I think once a month. And then, of course, they publish this report, which you can subscribe to. And Buckeye has been on this list of usually I think in the past like 6 months, it's been three cities that have been weak buyers markets. For our audience who doesn't know, if you're in a real estate market like 2020 and 2021, those were strong sellers markets. Home prices were going up like crazy.
Yep.
People were usually, bidding way over asking price. It was a field day for sellers. Now that the market has cooled off a bit and leveled off, we're starting to see buyers get a little more negotiating power, but it's still, for the most part, a good market. So sellers have some power. But
Yep.
Buckeye is one of these places where a buyer has a little more. In addition to Buckeye, Maricopa and I think Queen Creek were the other cities where a buyer has just a tad bit of an edge over a seller. Is that what you're reading as well, Kevin?
Yeah, I haven't paid too much attention to the Buckeye area, but right now it depends on the property. It can go either way. It's a pretty even balanced market right now. There are some pockets that are more towards the buyer and there's some more towards the seller, but overall it's really balanced all around.
Oh, interesting. So you're seeing that even within the
Mhm.
city of Buckeye, you're going to have these micro economies, if you will, where buyers and sellers are competing, and sometimes buyers have an edge, and in other little, maybe even neighborhoods, the seller
Yeah.
has an edge.
Yeah. Sadly, I don't know if it's sadly, but the home builders are really the ones in complete control right now. They can offer the most incentives and they can get the most creative compared to if you and I were to sell our house.
What and for the folks who probably live in the West Valley, they'll be familiar with
Mhm.
some of these names, but what are some of the neighborhoods that you're aware of right now here in the West Valley that they're going well? Their sellers have an edge and they're just selling like hotcakes.
Really, in this side of town, I would say Litchfield Park is still doing pretty good. Buckeye has more quantity of properties listed for sale just because Buckeye's huge. You look on a map that takes up the whole map.
Yeah.
Buckeye has land mass. Waddell's really Waddell's a lot smaller as well, but they're still doing okay. But the last
Waddell's
information
just north of us, right?
yeah, pretty much in between Litchfield Park and Surprise.
It's not even, it's actually not even a city, right? Even though it looks like it on the map. I think
It
Waddell
has
doesn't
its
have its
own
own
zip
fire
code.
department and yeah.
Yeah, it has its own zip code, but I believe it's might be like Litchfield Park parts of it where it's unincorporated.
Okay. And here in Buckeye, I do know that south of 10, where there's been a lot of construction in the past 10 years. It just hasn't been stopping really. That you might have a few more.
Yeah, most transactions right now, I think the last number I saw was just a little under 50% where sellers are giving concessions to buyers. So sellers are still running the show, so to say, but they're having to give a little back. And I think the average amount that I saw was about $8,000.
Okay. And that was for West Valley in general or Buckeye
Uh,
specifically?
that was the Phoenix metro area as a whole, all of us.
In aggregate. Okay. Yep,
Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense. I think
the whole
Phoenix
metro area.
overall,
Yeah.
yes, still a very much a seller's market. I wanna move on here because we could probably talk about some of these smaller economies within the real estate market here forever.
Yeah.
What do you For you, what is the vision and purpose of the podcast we've got going on here?
The reason of our podcast, that's
Yeah.
to have a little fun, a little information, a little education, and just a time for us to hang out and just bounce some ideas out there.
Yep. I think that sums it up really. It's we would like to provide some insights,
For sure.
and
Yeah.
we'd also like to have it be educational and have some kind of entertainment value. We'll also provide a comprehensive perspective on a lot of these topics we go into, backed by we would like to give you some data.
Mm.
So there's no perfect market, and any market you go into is going to be a combination of art and science. And I think we can bring that to you with both the data and then what is actually happening on the ground, because the data doesn't always present the most accurate picture.
Yeah. Most of the Cromford report, in my opinion, is mostly what you would consider a trailing indicator. Most information from the Cromford tells you a week, 2 weeks behind because real estate transactions take a while to complete.
Yeah, that's a great point. What they say, past performance is no indication of future performance,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And in the case of, I think you usually hear this from traders, they usually say future profits. So the investors, speaking of profits, I think a lot of them have either they sold out, right? Which provided a little bit of inventory there for a while, but then buyers came out and now it's back to, I guess you call it gridlock because there's
Mhm.
just not a lot of inventory overall and buyers there's still a demand, but they're cautious because of interest rates. So I'm seeing that the Phoenix market is this weird lull. Like
Mm.
people are still buying homes, but it's not crazy like it was over the past couple years.
Yeah, what I've seen is people that are moving are people that have to, either a job transfer, a major family life event, a birth, a death, something like that. Most people that do something have to do something right now. There are those people that are sitting on that really great 2 and 3% interest rate that at the time they want to move, but nobody wants to jump up to that 6 or 7% interest rate. So next few months is going to be real interesting to see how everything shakes out. I'm interested. I want to watch it.
Yeah, I would like to piggyback on that. I watch the Fed closely,
Yeah.
as does probably a
Like
lot of
us.
America. Yeah, everybody practically. And because everything hinges on every word he says. And typically he's spot on. He doesn't like to spook the market, or at least he wants to be consistent with his language. And he has been, people say he's been flip flopping a little bit lately, whether there's going to be a rate increase or not,
Yeah.
or if he's going to have to extend rate increases. I've heard a lot of mostly he's going to continue with the regime, this basic policy path that he's on for the remainder of the year. And then they will shift gears for next year once they think there might be a potential recession, right? The bad R word. But I've also heard counter arguments that even if we do have a recession, that they think rates might still go up next year, which is that's a conflicting idea in the world of
Mm.
economics, right? So we are in a strange housing economy right now.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I've heard people say that it might go all the way up to 8 before it comes down. But the thing that I haven't quite been able to figure out is I want to know, where is the inventory going to come from? Because I saw an article that home builders have started slowing down. And
Mm.
then when the interest rates drop and people finally start doing something, your home owner who sells and then buys, they don't add or take away. They add one, they take away one. And then when the rates do drop enough to where those 35-year-olds are finally feeling confident enough to jump in, they're going to take one, but they may be renting or they may be in an apartment. So where are all the extra houses going to come from? I think that might keep prices high. Maybe not high, but maybe where they're at, and might push them up some. I'm not sure. I'm trying to figure out where the inventory is going to come from, to if the prices are going to drop any.
And this is, you remember, a lot of this is unique to just Phoenix as well, because we still have Californians coming
A
across the
lot of West
border, if
Coast.
you will. We're here in Arizona, and there's a lot of Californians here in Phoenix. And
Yeah.
I think everybody's grown used to the mass migration of the hordes of Californians coming over, in addition to northern states and even people from some of those eastern states like New
Mhm.
York. They love the weather. They love, it's either Florida or Arizona, as they used to say, and it's choose humidity or choose our dry heat. And I think that as long as California is doing somewhat well, all this negative press isn't necessarily what's going on the ground, because
Right.
I always feel that the news they're trying to sell copy, right? They're trying to
Well,
get views, they're
yeah.
trying to get clicks, whatever it may be. But when you go into California, there's prosperity and people are buying and selling and
Right.
the market's going well and people are buying and selling homes too. And so they're continuing to look for opportunities for good jobs and lower cost housing.
Yep.
I think the gap has narrowed though to where the reason of this lull, because Californians aren't, it isn't this mad dash right across the border now for Arizona, because the home prices here have gone up so much. And so
Right.
now they have to really weigh whether it's worth the move. Does that,
You're not getting that really big house that you used to get anymore, with the way prices have risen in Arizona, and that we've stayed at that elevated level. Because before, you could
yeah,
easily buy a brand new house for 3 and a quarter. Now you're looking for 75 and up.
yeah, I think so. I've seen that square footage. You're right about that. Is that it's starting to feel like California in the sense that they're packing a lot more units into the development now.
Oh,
You know,
for sure.
you're
Yeah, they want them. They want to right on top of each other, so to say.
Yeah, you can reach out your window and shake your neighbor's hand. And that used to be something Californians complained about quite a bit and probably indicative of the suburbs in general.
Yeah.
Developers need to make a profit, and
Mhm.
the best way to do it is to get as many of those homes in there as possible.
Yeah,
Um,
and you'd be amazed. I know, if I can interrupt, my last house that I bought, there was 13 feet between my neighbor and my house. 13 feet, that was it.
so if you just stretched a bit, you could probably almost shake your
And
neighbor's hand.
and
Yeah.
and they had it offset to where you had 8 feet on, so 8 feet on my side, and then 5 feet on their side. And then if you look on the other side of my house, I had the 5 feet and they had the 8 feet to make that 13 feet in between.
Wow. Yeah. We're starting to feel like sardines here as well.
Yeah.
Not that Phoenix never was like the South. I don't want to convey that. It's not like you got this 1 acre in front of your house leading up to the front door, nor
No.
were backyards like these fenceless oases of green lawn and you could practically get lost in them. But I do feel that homes have generally been a little bigger in Phoenix, say 20 years ago, and yards were probably a little more sizable. Now it's like typical suburbs, like what you would see anywhere, which I think Mesa would probably give off that kind of this idea of those larger yards. Mesa seems to have some of those properties. So does Scottsdale, the older communities, Chandler.
Yeah.
So I'd like to move on to just what we anticipate the future will bring here with our podcast
Yes.
and cover some of the features that we might have and some of the episodes. So we're gonna definitely try to have fun and practical hosts. Kevin and I here is probably gives you a little taste of how things will go. We're gonna have expert guest interviews. We're gonna have home tours, and we'll go into depth with some of these. Some of the future episodes might focus on home inspections, or we might discuss where the Chandler market is going.
Yeah.
We're here in the West Valley, and so we can speak to a lot of the West Valley economy.
Mhm.
But Phoenix is such a big place now. That's a wrap, Kevin. We're gonna wish
No.
everybody out there happy house hunting and signing off. This is GT Campanile,
Kevin Price.
and we'll see you next time.